I just ended things with a guy because he's unvaccinated. I feel really bad. I think I did the right thing, but I'm here because I want some Reddit reassurance from the hive mind. We've been seeing each other for a couple of months and it's been super great. He was actually an old flame from about 4 years ago that got rekindled after both of us discovered we were single and living in the same area again. 2 months of amazing honeymoon hormone times and heaps of carefree sex and fun. It's been blissful. But has come to the party and ruined everything. I'm in Australia and we haven't had much COVID around here, till just now, and it is exploding like crazy all of a sudden. Particularly where we are, because it's a holiday destination and everyone comes here to visit from all over the country bringing their bugs along too. He's not vaccinated, which is fine, I respect his choice, but I'm a frontline health worker and I can't risk catching it from him and bringing it to my at-risk patients. I talked to him a few times and tried to understand his thinking behind his choice, and it turns out he basically has just been putting off the decision and not really giving it proper thought. I encouraged him to make an informed choice and tried to help give some good sources of information, but he turned to Joe Rogan as his first port of call. I lost it when he started asking me why I wasn't considering taking high-dose vitamins and asking me what my views are on ivermectin. After a couple of days of tense silence, during which time case numbers here have exploded, I contacted him to let him know I couldn't see him while he was unvaccinated, and couldn't see our relationship going anywhere when we are so unaligned on fundamental issues like this. His disregard for other people and irresponsible attitude to decision-making honestly has been a massive turn-off and a huge buzzkill. He thinks I'm being overly emotional and that this is a stupid reason to end a good thing. I'm feeling really sad about it and like I've been very harsh, but I think this is fair. I'd like to hear your thoughts. Is this reasonable? Next comment. You made the right call. A family friend of mine is married to an anti-vaxxer. He has destroyed their social life and jeopardized their financial solvency. The family friend is presently trapped between never having another family friend gathering, and ending her marriage. Either way, she loses all because he's got his head 5 feet up his ass. Her husband works in a vaccine-required field. He took an unpaid leave, now just sits around doing sweet all. Family friend has said that she wishes she knew before she married him. She would have called off the wedding. They've been together 15 years or so, but this is likely gonna be the end of them. You know what's harsh? Putting other people's lives at risk during a pandemic. You all are from a developed nation with a decent vaccination program. There is no excuse to be unvaccinated at this point. So yeah, you made the right call 100%. Next comment. It isn't his decision on the vaccine that's the issue. I'm entirely pro-vaccine across the board and just had my booster here in the UK. It's that he has disregarded and invalidated your feelings. He has turned this into a personal attack and attempted to gaslight you. Which is disrespectful and unacceptable. The fact that he's judging others for prioritizing their health through listening to science and also doesn't respect other people's lives is also a problem. This suggests a selfish, uneducated, or ignorant, and thoughtless person. COVID, and the current social and political climate, has created so many divides, and we are having to assess people in different ways than ever before. It's weird and feels wrong, because it seems judgmental, but on the other hand it's the right thing to do. In the long run his attitude would be a problem. Because you're unlikely to find compromises in the future on big things when you have such opposing views now. And such different ways to form opinions. What if you wanted children and wanted them to be vaccinated, and he didn't? What if you needed to isolate to do your job and he couldn't see you for months and he refused to support you? What if someone needed an organ and you wanted to donate but he didn't agree? I know those are extreme examples, but someone once wrote on here that we aren't dating the best in someone, we are dating the worst. If that person is someone we can truly love and commit to, then we are likely to make it the distance. If we hope they will change or come around, then we are just fooling ourselves. I ended things with an anti-vaccine guy recently, though it was at the early stages of messaging, and also stopped messaging a woman from Bumble over her views on Cove and a raft of other things, because you need compatibility to have a deep connection with someone. You don't have that with him. That's the bottom line. He hasn't been supportive of your view and has turned petty to make you change your mind. It's not about the vaccine. Next comment. I think, for a lot of folks, this crisis has proven to be a real crucible for relationships. Where before, when stakes were lower, a lot of stuff could be swept into the agree to disagree pile. Even if you disagreed on a huge issue, like, say, the war on terror from the early 2000s, you could keep a relationship going because your partner probably wasn't actively torturing prisoners in Guantanamo. You could argue about it and every couple years throw a vote in one direction or another. But that was about it. The stakes were lower. But the pandemic has brought life or death decisions to everyone's home, and we all gotta deal with it in a real way, and partners will need to be on the same page about this stuff. Especially if one or both of them are on the healthcare front lines. So yeah, the decision you made was harsh by 2001 standards. But it's 2021. We all had to put on our big boy % girl pants the last couple years. Next comment. I'm also an Aussie and I suspect we might live in the same state from what you've said about other states holidaying here. If you are also in Queensland, it's definitely been ramping up again since borders reopened. Even if you weren't a frontline health worker, I would absolutely agree with your decision and would do the same. People have been a bit laid back here unfortunately because we've had less cases, but there's really no excuse. I hope you find someone who aligns more with your values. It's definitely not an area you can compromise on. Next comment. I mean, you're preaching to the choir here, I'm pretty sure. The thing is, and I guess I'll just come out and say it, if you are an adult and not vaccinated at this point, it is because there is something wrong with you. I can't say exactly what that is because it's bits and pieces of a broad spectrum of different things, all of which are minor red flags in themselves. Low intelligence, gullibility, fear, xenophobia, cruelty, selfishness, delusion, poor critical thinking, racist tendencies. I feel flabbergasted just typing that and can't believe a medical decision has been conflated with elements of racism yet here, childishness, hubris, egoism, spitefulness, bootlicking, anti-humanitarian, knowledge. The list goes on and on, but there are just all these elements that I'm trying to identify behind the people I know who haven't gotten it yet. I can totally understand why you would be turned off by that. It isn't just minor issue. Not getting vaccinated has become a shibboleth for people I have learned I don't care to spend my time with, around, or be influenced by. Sorry you got knocked out of the clouds, but my guess is that you didn't work out the first time around because of some sprinkling of issues above. Take a step back and you might be able to say to yourself, oh, of course he's not vaccinated. I could have guessed, when we were younger he used to throw rocks at cars as they drove past, or some other equally obvious metaphor for a person that is not quite good. Next comment. Amazing comment, thank you. I have had the same feeling about the broad spectrum of unsavory qualities that lead a person towards deciding they don't need to listen to science in this pandemic. It's a feeling that has been creeping in and I've been trying to ignore it because I don't want to think any of those things about this wonderful new beau I've been so infatuated with. He's great in a lot of ways. He's very misguided on this front, due to what I fear is a combo of some of the more low-grade red flag issues you listed above, and also I think a bit of peer pressure. There are so many anti-vaxxers around here and so much hot air and nonsense flying around. My initial strategy was to avoid talking about the issue with him. About 10 days ago, I decided to poke it gently with a rather long stick. Quite apart from how I feel, his life would be quite if he got sick and had to take a load of time off work, so I upped the ante to a couple of stern discussions. That didn't work and he has now been saying he's not anti-vax, he's just pro-personal choice, and needs to do more research, meanwhile failing to make an actual personal choice. The wolf is at the door now, so I have been forced to make the choice myself. Next comment. Yes, you were and are reasonable. You see the after effects and get paid to deal with those suffering from it. You don't want him assigned to a bed you're responsible for when he could do the right thing and put on his big boy undies and go get vaxxed. I'm counting down to the appointments I have in January for my 2 youngest to start getting their jabs for it, so our whole family will be double vaxxed by the end of February. While we would probably be fine, we know others that wouldn't be, and that's why we do it. We're part of a community and we should be looking out for each other. And also the healthcare system is under enough strain, we're not adding to it by being ignorant idiots. Next comment. You're being reasonable, Op. I am a healthcare worker at a large hospital in NYC where we are being hit really bad right now with COVID cases. I don't spend time with unvaccinated folks not only because I worry about them giving me COVID and me bringing it to my immunocompromised patients, but I also worry about coming into contact with patients at the hospital who may have COVID and giving it to unvaccinated folks. It goes both ways. You're not being emotional and not bullying him into getting the vaccine. You just don't want to be responsible for giving a patient COVID. I think that's entirely reasonable. Next comment. I'd say the vax thing is a handy reason to pin it all on, 'cause you know it's trending and most people have made the unvaxxed the new kickbag for everything. You can blame them for a lot. But an old flame that didn't quite lift off a second time around. Maybe you thought one of you had changed enough. Maybe the bad feeling you're having is to do with something else. Don't let COVID hysteria stop you from actually looking at yourself and what actually happened. Next comment.